Alright, hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. I'm going to show you some things that I've been working on for the past, I don't know, several weeks now, maybe the last month or so. Three new sets, nature set number 27, 28, and 29. Let's go into these one by one, starting with number 27 here. Two existing stamps, actually three in the little hanging branch there. That little hanging branch is kind of a little bit of a throw-in just to fill up some space down here on the set, but then it also kind of, I don't know, mimics a lot of the bare branches that are going on in here that could be used as a little bit of a filler by either coming in on a horizontal amongst some leaves, or you can put it on a vertical as a little bit of a kind of a bare, fall type of branch or something like that coming from the base. Some new leaves off here to the side, actual birch branches right here, okay? The leaves are fairly large so that you can use them as a foreground element. And that's something that I was missing with these trees before. I'm not someone that believes that, with scenic stamping, that something has to be accurate, okay? I do believe in getting my birch trees and bark and that type of textural pattern very accurate. But when it comes to usage, if someone put any type of leaf type of foliage in the foreground. Let's say these are birch trees, and you're using aspen, leaves or something in the foreground, or even oak leaves or something like that. You know what I mean? And people aren't going to say, wait a minute, that doesn't go with that or something, I don't believe in that. But that being said, if I'm going to add some extra leaf types of structures to go with this set, why not go with an actual birch types of iconography structures and so forth. Okay, so one of the things that I haven't done a lot of in the past, I started doing it more in the recent years, is by having both the right and left sides of things. I do that with things like visual lead-ins, like roads and riverbanks and things like that, but I haven't really done it a lot with the branches and leaves. But sometimes, I like to have things kind of, kind of angling in from whatever side it's coming in, like that. Okay, I have flipped-flopped some designs, but not many. But in these sets here, I do a lot of that because I anticipate both that. The usage coming in from the right and left side, and if you have it something that's kind of gracefully arcing in, so let's say from the right hand side or something like that, I've always had to adjust it a little bit coming in from the lefts, but it can be much more natural by having an actual right and left side to it. Okay, so that's these kind of hanging branches in here. Okay, now there's this leaf cluster right here, which can represent something that's kind of farther back in the distance, so you can do these in a lighter color. Let's say we're doing spring, summer types of birch, leaves, and you're doing them in variations of green. You can do this in something like a medium green, and these ones could be almost in silhouette to create that visual depth and distance going on in the piece. And one of the other things is I've had these birch trees for a very long time. When I was out in Maine teaching workshops, people asked me, can you do some birch trees or something like that? And birch trees, the very nature of it, you want to have this white type of, really kind of elegant looking bark to them, that sets kind of a dramatic, contrasting look against whatever foliage is going on in the background or in the foreground, it's setting. Okay, so I haven't used these trees that much until this last year when I really started getting into their usage on vellum. Okay, so when it comes to something like this, one of the problems with having some sort of light element, all the way to white, okay, is if we're stamping these on a piece of paper, if we want to stamp something like this in the background, we've always had to mask this type of thing off. Now, you can do it with like a liquid frisk, or you can, I don't know, I haven't known too many people to cut masks, a paper mask, and to tack that down, and to take something like this and to stamp it in the background. I'm sure people have, but I haven't seen too much of that because it's kind of a hassle to do that. But when you're dealing with a translucent surface like vellum, and then what I do, if you haven't seen those videos, is I stamp these out in black, and then from the back of the vellum, because it's translucent, which means it's, semi-transparent, I've added a white paint. It's called bleed-proof white here. Other people have used other types of white paint, but you paint it on the back of the vellum so that these trunks are white, and then we can add some of this, and you can stamp this on the back of the vellum, and you'll be able to see through, and you can have like all kinds of birch sapling leaves in the background. I've seen tons of photographs like that, and it's made really dramatic in the fall too, with those brightly colored yellow greenish leaves going on in the background, so you can have this whole forest of these white trunks coming up through these fall colored turning saplings in the back. And then you can also have these coming from the front, in terms of an overhang representing the foliage from this forest of trees. And then you can have these stamped to the left and right of a composition, maybe in a dark color, maybe in something really quite dark, like maybe a pigment ink or something of that sort. So can't wait to use these, and looking forward to it. This one's a smaller one, so you can just have a little bit of a leaf, popping around. It's small enough to create enough contrast against that, but it's somewhere in between these two, okay? Now these images right here are only sold on this set, okay? So this, I know some of you are saying, wait, I already have these birch trees, but I'll show you another set that I have coming up where we can have these types of elements in a completely new set with all new imagery, very similar to this, that can be used in a similar fashion to these clusters right here. Okay, let's go on to the next set. Same type of thing, okay? Now, I've often used, now not all these are right side up, like these large limbs, represent kind of this bow coming in from the outside here, and then here it is coming from the left. This fir branch right here kind of represents something a little bit closer. This is getting really close to us. I've had oftentimes pine trees in the foreground, but we haven't really gotten into really close elements like something like this, the spruce limb, pine cones like this. We have it coming in from both the left side and on the right side. The reason these are upside down right here on the set here, because this is the way I was able to configure these into a set like this, okay? And then we have this little juniper branch right here, but it could represent something like this type of structuring, but I didn't want to go with some sort of redundant, type of image out here with these types of needles here, so I just threw that juniper branch in here, but this can represent something much closer to us, or we can say, it's close enough to these types of needles here where this can represent something that's much closer. It's not really, botanists, give me a break out there, okay? But I don't know, these types of things in here are something that I've been looking forward to having in terms of pushing a lot of depth. I like kind of having, a really vast represented area within a composition, with having things that are really close to us and things off in the distance. It could be stars or something like that, which if you're into photography or anything like that, that would be, maybe something from, I don't know, a 4-foot distance to infinity, okay? Infinity in terms of focusing your camera to could be something like a mountain in the background. But just having these types of elements in there would be really cool. And I think I've really spent a lot of time in terms of thinking about the sizes of these types of things here too. When it comes to things like pines, I think that these, it's kind of theory right now because I haven't used any of these quite yet. I'm just getting the rubber in and all that stuff, and the inserts are starting to come in. I'm just waiting on one insert right here. I just kind of printed that one out myself right here, but they're all available right now. But we'll get into some of the usages of them and how I envisioned using them in some of the videos coming very soon. But these images, when I was designing them, I'm thinking about them in terms of, for the most part, a silhouette like this stamped out in black, but we can also use things like different colors of pens and whatnot, and we can have variations of green. I like having these things fairly dark if it's used in, traditional type of setting with, other types of imagery in the background, and it looks like, if you're doing these types of things on glossy cardstock, it could look like a photograph. But I also want these to be able to be used kind of decoratively, let's say without other types of elements around. Like you can use these types of things like this for a Christmas card. Maybe you put ornaments down here or something of that sort. Or you can stamp these on, maybe a red foil or something like that. But can you imagine these maybe stamped in white on this foil, or maybe even potentially, stamped out in some sort of color, and you can put glitter on them, or you can emboss them over some sort of metallic cardstock, with a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or anything like that in there. Or let's say that we're stamping these out in white over a dark background or something like that. They could represent, something that's, frosted over. It doesn't look like snow per se, but it would give it that wintry type of feel if you do these types of things on, like a dark blue type of cardstock or something like that. If you stamp these out in black on this, that's not going to really stand out very much, it'd be like a hidden object until you kind of tilted it into the the light like that. But if you do something in, like white over that type of dark paper or dark, really reflective metallic foil, I think it would be really good. So anyways, looking forward to something like that. And again, it really kind of pushes the distance. It doesn't quite give us a worm's eye view, but it gives us a, kind of a, I don't know, kind of an immersion into the scene. And that's why I always like to add things like foreground, because when we're looking at a finished scene, I believe that the difference between scenic stamping and other types of stamping, card making that involves stamps, is that there's something about scenic types of things that's a little bit different in terms of there's this transportive type of subconscious thing that takes place where you basically enter the scene that you're doing, or, we're stamping out the types of places where we would like to be. And I think that having these types of elements that are much closer to us as a viewer when we're looking at that piece, or, someone that you give it to and they're looking at it, having things closer to you kind of enters this kind of kinesthetic type of feeling, so beyond the visuals, it gives us this subconscious type of immersion into that setting, and just having some elements that are a little bit closer to us kind of and it reinforces that type of transportive effect. Okay, so that being said, let's get on to the next set here. This is Nature's set number 29, Leaves. Okay, so talking about that kind of immersion and this kind of extension of space, okay, and maybe, accuracy too. We have the birch leaves right here, this alder branch, left and right. Those types of things could be used for, the birch pieces. You know what I mean? I mean, if it's, someone's a bot, I don't know, maybe you don't send it to your friend that's a, the chairman of the botany, department over at the local college or whatever, something like that, But, I don't think we're going to be doing that too much. So these types of images right here, to expand on space. but they're also large enough and decorative enough to be used, I think, without other types of things. I mean, just simple things like this. You can do photo stamping or something like that. I think that would be really cool to just have these types of things coming in from the outside edges. It could be where you encircle a card or things like a photograph, and it would look like, one of those things where you're kind of laying on the ground, looking up at the sky. Typically do that with pine tree types of elements, but you can do it with any type of foliage, and I think that these ones right here would be, I don't know, it'd be the ticket to, a deciduous type of representation of that type of, I don't know, whatever, vantage point or whatever. So, again, I think these types of leaves like this would be really fun used in multiple ways, from anything from, runs the value spectrum from white to black. All right, you can do it dimensionally. These are made to stamp out in the thinnest of inks, such as dye-based inks, or you can use it with like a pigment ink or embossing, and I think they would all work really well. Okay, so the alders right here, this one's called a wingnut branch. I just wanted something different, and I think the wingnuts right here could be used as kind of an overhanging limb coming down from above, okay, like that. But it can also be something where these leaves are kind of on the, the floor of whatever natural area you're in. Just get to be a plant that's growing that way, okay? But I think it would be good as an overhang too. So they're in two different sizes like that. When I'm combining two different sizes like that, I often do the smaller ones a little bit lighter than the front ones, So you can do it monochromatically too. If you're doing just all in black, what you do is you take the smaller one and you ink it up in black and you blot it off, and then you take it and stamp it in kind of a gray or something like that. You can have the darker ones stamped darker, so it looks like you really push in depth with the same type of imagery. And when you get different types of imagery like that, even if they're in different types of values, you get this continuity of space and, I don't know, kind of an overall design visual grace when you get repeating types of shapes. And as long as they're, the same type of shape, I don't know, it just lends to an overall kind of a visual harmony from a design perspective. Okay, so the maple branches right here, I have a lot of maple types of trees, but nothing, where we have these kind of larger branches. Now this one right here, I only did it in one size. I didn't really flip it because I felt that this one right here, when you look at it like that, you know what I mean? I don't think that has to be a left or right. I think it can work, from both angles like that, because there's not so much of a kind of a drooping slope to it, and we can get away with that. Okay, now I have these shagbark hickory trees. I don't use those too much, but I think I like all my trees a lot better over this last year. I use a lot more of I use the birch all the time, and the quaking aspen trees, okay? But I also have these hickory, shagbark hickory trees. And here we have the hickory branch left and right. Now these ones have a definite type of slope to it, and you can see it like that. That's coming in like that. You couldn't really do it like this, coming in from the left side, because that those leaves would be, going the wrong way. So left and right for sure, okay? And here's some more birch trees, leaves right here, so even larger. So, if you really want to push space and you had both of these types of things, those two types of leaves are large enough apart from each other, so you have kind of large, medium, and small right there. On here, just alone, those are looking pretty large in terms of the usage in here. But, I mean, you can just do something with leaves too, without these two pieces right here, or either one of them. I tend to see this one as foreground, this one as background, but, you could be one or the other, especially if you're working with a quarter-page card format like that, but both of those can fit on there. But you have these types of things coming in from the side. And that's where we have these pieces right here. If you want to combine maple branches and whatnot with birch trees, you know what I mean? Who cares? It's your world, and you're just creating whatever you want. I don't think. I mean, it's something I would do. So, with all that being said, 3 new types of sets here. Looking forward to using them, and I think we'll get into using them one at a time here. I'm really, anxious to really give these a whirl. I want to play around with big solid areas like this, and to do that direct to rubber coloring of them with, different types of, color variations and whatnot, in there blended in, doing them in, like I said, the different types of surfaces, everything from your plain matte cardstock or something like that. I don't know. That's like the basic paper, right? For us card makers, all the way to kind of the more, kind of unconventional types of surfaces, and everything in between. I guess vellum would be somewhere in between these ones or something like that. But yeah, colored pencils and whatnot. I don't know, these types of things like here, I don't know, it really makes me want to get some other types of inks too when I thought about the usages of these when I was, designing them. I don't know, I want to get other colored brilliance pads, maybe some stays on, something like that. If I do some things in colored pencils, I did a video recently with the colored pencil and watercolored pencils, and I want to be able to put some impressions over the tops of, potentially like wax surfaces. If you're laying down some wax, there's certain types of inks that aren't going to be able to be applied over the top of that type of, color technique, like such as water-based, dye inks or something of that sort, right? Because you can't put water over wax and have it really stick. So, enter things like, StazOns and whatnot, the solvent-based inks and that type of thing. I don't know. I need to pick up some new supplies, and that's always some fun stuff to do anyway. And maybe different colors of existing lines that I already have, So I mentioned the Brilliance inks. I really became a big fan of those ones like that. But, when we're getting into something like these right here, I don't know, I think it'd be fun to play around with some different colors. I have black and white and quite a few of the metallics, like the gold and silver. I don't know, I have copper, which I haven't used very much of, but I know they have different colors, but I just really haven't tried them. I don't think a lot of people have, but I do want to give these types of images a whirl. I don't know, can you imagine this like with a green metallic, ink or something like that? I think that would look pretty cool. So anyways, okay, so stay tuned for, the next, I don't know, it's probably going to be quite a few videos just based off of these sets. I'd like to do a deep dive exploration into any new designs that I come out with, and, there's certain things that get revealed that I didn't even think about, and, especially when you guys start using it, it's like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about using something that way. And that's always an exciting type of experience. And I don't know, with all the different experiments going on last year with the different types of media that were new to me, the iridescence, the reflectives, the foils, the vellums, a lot more photo stamping, things like that. I don't know, it's really opened up the doors in terms of how to use it. It could be a little bit overwhelming sometimes, for me, but it's, I always kind of go back to the basics. Okay, let's do some stamp sketches with these just in black ink, just to see how things kind of work together. With these ones right here, I don't see these as sets in themselves, but kind of just more additional types of imagery to be used with other types of images. So that's what we'll do with a lot of these, and we'll see how they look in both, kind of a, traditional card size, quarter size pieces, half size, papers and whatnot. And I don't know. I think when we're getting into these larger types of images, relative, in terms of space relative to the viewer, I think it opens up, a lot more opportunities for even full page pieces because, when you have kind of larger elements, you can fill up more space with them. Like you can do a whole big area just with using these birch leaves, the largest ones, or something like these alders, and you have something, and it doesn't feel like you're kind of like forcing the issue. It can look completely natural with some larger images, in this larger type of format, that you might use. Okay, so anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, looking forward to some new stamps to use. I'm just like anyone else. Yeah, these are Stampscape stamps or something like that. They're my own designs, but I haven't used them either, so looking forward to that and looking forward to some fun. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next probably stamp sketch video using Nature's Set number 27, I would imagine.